And with us right now, we've got Paul Maskill. Paul, you're a small business advocate. You're the founder of the Ultimate Freedom Mastermind, and you're the host, your fellow podcaster, of the Business Owners Freedom Formula show. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Super excited to be here, Josh. Thanks for the opportunity.
Paul, you hail from Raleigh, North Carolina. Tell me why you love living in Raleigh.
I love living in Raleigh because I used to live in the Midwest. I grew up in Michigan, and then
hey, me too.
There you go. So you live in Orlando. You escaped the cold.
Yeah.
Growing up in Michigan, you didn't really realize that you could live elsewhere where you didn't have to deal with winter for like 6 or 8 months out of the year. So after living in Chicago post college, I realized that the 6 to 8 month winters and like 2 to 3 month summers were just not for me. So yeah. I love the weather. We still have 4 seasons. I love being closer to the mountains, closer to the beach. And people are just a lot happier down here than up north. Sorry to say for anybody in Michigan or the Midwest.
Listen, I love my friends and family in the Midwest. My grandma lives in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. But yeah, again, for me, I'm much happier when I get a little bit more sunshine. And so, but the people in Michigan are wonderful. Where were you in Michigan?
So I was born in Detroit, and then we moved up north just south of Flint. So I grew up just south of Flint, like 10 minutes from Flint. And then went to University of Michigan, got a finance degree, and then got out of there. And that was 13 years ago.
What'd you do with your finance degree?
Not much. So I got a finance.
Paid a lot of money for it is what I did, Josh. And then here it is adorned on my wall.
Exactly. It helped me realize what I did want to do for the rest of my life. So it was very valuable. So I actually went and sat in a cubicle for 3 years in Chicago through the Great Recession. I probably still use it every day because I love numbers. I love, using all the spreadsheet knowledge and systems and processes, but I am not going to work for any financial institution for the rest of my life.
Yeah, sure. All right. So at what point then professionally did you start getting the bug that perhaps you wanted to go out on your own?
Yeah. So I got hired in 2007 at the peak of the economy. Everybody was happy and the finance world was going great. And then shortly thereafter, I saw just people just dozens and dozens of people on my floor get laid off, and tens of thousands within Chicago and obviously all over the world. So to me, I was always confused of why did everybody tell me like this is the gold standard, this is what we should be doing. We should go to the corporate world, do that for 40 years and try to get the corner office. And to me, it never really made sense, but I didn't know really anything else. And then probably like 6 to 8 months into it, I just realized I wasn't making an impact. I'm really just serving these shareholders, trying to make them more money and trying to hit our quarterly earnings. And then I started watching all these people lose their jobs, and their life was so leveraged based on this one job. To me, it didn't seem very secure to like basically have your own business and have one client. And if that client fires you, you're out of business. So yeah. Probably definitely within the first year. And then I really just had to, being a finance person, I really wanted to make sure I had my finances straight. And before I did take that leap. So I left Chicago after 3 years and haven't looked back.
Wow. So your first business was what?
So we ran, so kind of backstory in that. So when I quit my job, I said, I'm just going to do something I love. Really don't care how much money I make. Mm-hmm. And I always played sports. I was a coach. I ran junior golf programs at the golf course where I worked at. I coached my high school golf team. So we ran after school golf and tennis programs for elementary kids. Loved it. Wow. It was awesome. I spent way more hours doing that than my previous cubicle job. But at first I thought this is great. Like I'd rather do this like 60 hours a week and hang out with kids and make an impact and serve the community. And like everybody I see at work is excited to be there because it's either kids or people that are coaching kids. We ran summer camps, after school programs, parent-child events, that kind of stuff. So that was my first foray into business. I didn't really necessarily know what I was doing, but I knew that was still way better than sitting in a cubicle and kind of rotting away, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. And then you founded a company, looks like in 2015, Simpler Home. What was that?
Yeah. So that was so I sold my previous company in end of 2015. And so I was wondering, what should I do next? And Simpler Home was an e-commerce store. We sold we basically sold two different things. So we made handmade wooden things in my garage. So originally I was making them by hand, kind of different types of containers, shoe containers, coat racks, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It was just something that I enjoyed, and then it started to scale. So then we started sourcing it from a vendor. And then we started selling some stainless steel products through Amazon, sourcing it, kind of doing the FBA thing. That was when the FBA thing, at least that was when I first heard about it. So we started sourcing some products from India as well. Yeah. But I realized I just didn't love e-commerce. I thought I would. And I think I probably followed, the pros of it. Oh, maybe you don't need a lot of employees and it's all kind of hands off. But what I realized was I really just love the human interaction of service-based businesses, whether it's building a team or interacting with your customers and clients, like on a actual in-person level, or even on Zoom, now, I just realized that the e-commerce thing wasn't for me. So that was kind of a project me and my wife started up after we sold our golf and tennis business, and then realized that just doesn't cut it from a passion standpoint. And I just didn't love it.
So you run or you're a part of or owner of several local businesses then, and you must be a busy guy.
Yeah, so I try to stay productive. I say like busy, everyone's busy, but very few are productive. But so I'm trying to avoid the bright, shiny objects. But as you know, being an entrepreneur, the further along in your journey, there's more opportunities. You say, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that.
You could.
So it's almost like you need to prove to yourself that you can do it, because you can do it and you can do it better than somebody else. So a couple of years ago, I bought an existing dog walking, pet sitting business because I told myself, I can do this. This is kind of like my other business, except with pets instead of kids. And I could do it. So we scaled that up. I put a bunch of employees in place, and then eventually actually just sold it at the beginning of this year to one of our key employees. So now what I do, the only local business I have right now at the moment, I'm a partner in a landscaping company. So that was just kind of originally it was just a client of mine where I was helping them with systems and processes. And eventually they said, we need you to just like come in and be kind of our operations person. So I'm a partner in that company. And then I spend most of my other time, at least work time, serving small business owners.
And so tell me about then your starting your own personal brand as an advocate, coach, and owner of your self-named brand, paulmaskill.com.
Yeah, I would say it's harder than what people will tell you because, obviously people only share their highlights online.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And, what I finally came to the realization of is I needed to treat it like a real business, like I've treated all my other local businesses, even though it's not local. And that really just means you got to be all in. It's not, you can't just throw up some Facebook ads and let that do its thing. Facebook ads might be great, but you really need to run it just like any other business. So it's been a journey. I started out doing one-on-one coaching, and then I realized a couple of things. One, I just couldn't impact as many people as I wanted. It was draining. And it really just wasn't affordable for a lot of the people I love working with the most, which is small business owners. So in order for it to make it worth my time, I needed to charge a fairly significant premium also to ensure they get results, but it really just limited the amount of people I could serve. So at the end of 2019, I kind of wound that down. I still have a couple that I work with on a one-on-one basis, but that's when I really launched the mastermind group format, which is just off and running now, and really believe in the power of the community and the mastermind and accountability and everything that goes along with it. So it's been a journey over 4 years. It was kind of a part-time venture up until probably beginning of 2019. And that was when I was like, okay, I know I can help a lot of people now. I just got to be fully committed to this.
So you run a paid mastermind, and like what level would this be? Is this a $29 a month mastermind, or is it much more, bespoke levels? Where would you put it?
Yeah. So yeah, right now it's $300 a month for
oh my gosh,
owner.
that's wonderful.
So it's fairly
accessible.
Yeah, very accessible for my people, my small business owners. So most people in there, they're definitely established business owners. They're doing at least a couple 100,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest business in there right now is probably 1.2 million in revenue. So they're established, they got some team, and now they realize I just need help to like turn this into a legit business where I don't need to be in it. So the price will probably go up over time as we get more and more people in it. So originally it started out at $250, and then we got enough people, and now it's $300, and then it'll go up to $350. But compared to, when I was doing one-on-one coaching, it was like $2,000 a month. So it just wasn't accessible for a lot of, small business owners, especially when I'm teaching them like cash flow principles. And, although you need this, dropping $2,000 a month will really hamper your cash flow. So I found this to be really the best of both worlds. Plus they were able to leverage everybody else's experience in there too.
It's really interesting that we're talking about this right now, because we've had what has been known as our media influencer makeover, where, we're going to replace your publicist, your growth strategist, your branding expert, your media getting person, your speaker bureau. Like, it's all inclusive. It's not, again, completely done for you, bespoke, kind of boutique, where we but we do that work together, which I think is a much more efficient way to do that. And you just kind of bring your VA and have them follow our systems. But, we've kind of sold that at like the $1,800 price point. And, so we're actually looking at making that much more accessible, where, the price point will be under $300 a month type thing. What's been your experience, if you don't mind sharing, like, as a business, offering it at that level? How has that been for you personally as a business owner?
Yeah, I think it's been great. One, because it's recurring revenue.
Yeah.
But two, I think it's more rewarding. It's more rewarding for me because I really get excited to go to these calls and, the energy of the group. Whereas a lot of times when I was doing one-on-one, they wouldn't show up, or they'd be like, my ideal customer is sort of the person that might be too busy to show up, even though they have to show up.
Yeah.
But when there's the accountability of the group, it's like, oh, if I don't go there, Josh and Paul, they're like gonna, I gotta go. So I gotta make this a priority. So it has been really rewarding, really fulfilling. And then the relationships that get built amongst that group, like how people are connecting offline. We use Slack to communicate. So it's been really fulfilling. And then, I think it's the return on investment for them too is huge, because you don't know what you don't know in the business journey. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, what would I have done without this group? I'm so glad. Someone just sent me an email, a client that originally I invited her in a couple months ago, and she said, oh, I don't know, my husband's kind of on the fence. He's not into coaching, blah, blah, blah. And then she reached out again, and she just sent me an email literally like yesterday, the day before, and said, I am so much kicking myself for not working with you sooner. So, it's getting over that entrepreneurial mindset of, I got to do this by myself. I was made for this. I can figure it out on my own. Yeah, that's great. That might've got you where you are. But when you can leverage the power of a group and kind of a guide to help you along the way, it is really valuable. So for me, for my business model, it's awesome. And it really allows me to serve more people in a smaller amount of time. So me being a time blocking, scheduling person, it's like, I know Wednesday is my day to just serve my people and serve them, to the best of my ability instead of scrambling all over.
And the mastermind is all around systems. Is that right?
Yeah. So the general theme of it is just helping people, kind of achieve what they really want to do with their business. So we all started our business because we wanted to do X, Y, and Z, usually related around money and freedom. And that's really where we're trying to go. And then how we do that is helping them with the systems and processes, building the team, troubleshooting their problems. So yeah, so it's loosely tied around that, because without systems and processes and building a team, you don't really have a business. But what I find is usually the first focus is, where do you really want to go personally? For me, my whole goal once I started in the corporate world was just to become self-employed. And once I did that, I didn't really have another vision. It was like, okay, I guess this is it. And part of it could have been growing up in Michigan, because every quote unquote business owner was just the self-employed one man, one woman band. At least that was my realm. Like my dad was the floor guy, this person was the HVAC guy. This was the plumber. So all those people told me, don't go into business. So, that's really, what kind of jaded me. And I just thought, well, I guess this is what we do. This is better than working for somebody else. But then I realized I can actually turn my skill into a business and not have to turn the wrench 24/7.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing me, Paul, like what you've learned about, what are some helpful tips if someone would love to run a mastermind, me, what would you say are like your 2 or 3 top tips for, facilitating that community, or, just maybe lessons that you've learned from that? You say, oh gosh, Josh, definitely don't do this, do that.
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is communication. So don't assume anything. It's almost like building your own team of employees.
Mm.
So don't assume anything, over communicate.
Yeah.
And what I found is the more vulnerable I've become in just sharing what I'm trying to build,
Yeah.
they kind of feed off that. So it's
Oh,
like, hey,
interesting.
I'm going through these problems as well. And whenever you're more vulnerable, you're going to get better results. It's just kind of hard to open up
Interesting.
at first. So I have found that, that to be really powerful. And when you can set those expectations of like, hey, it's okay, this is a safe place. So, the communication is key. And then what I have found really valuable is just, you know, it's very basic, but we usually kind of forget about it, is just treating your customer the way you want to be treated. So
Yeah.
having the empathy of what they're going through. I'm big on customer experience. Whatever service or product we provide is a commodity, because we can get it from anywhere, really, because the world is so flat now with technology and everything. So what are you going to do to set yourself apart from somebody else? And really, for me, if I'm having a conversation with you and you say, man, I'm really going through this problem, if I know there's a solution, and usually that solution is a book, I'll just go on Amazon, order the book, send it to them. They don't know I did it, and then all of a sudden I get a message 2 days later. Normally, when Amazon Prime delivers in 1 or 2 days, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best surprise I've gotten in so long." A $10 to $15 book for them meant so much more. So really, just advocating for them, being that person that's always there for them, looking for their blind spots. So that would be just some of the tips I would say for anybody that wants to run a mastermind, is you got to be in an 100%, over communicate, and just serve your people better than anybody else.
And then I noticed that you run on Slack. Why Slack?
So I like Slack. It's kind of,
I do too.
it's hard to
Slack internally.
Yeah. So for me, it was couple things. I didn't want to clog up people's text messages and have group texts and emails. People fall off, people forward it. So it was kind of the one-stop shop. And I didn't want to use Facebook because I don't want you going on Facebook, because I might say, hey, I posted in Facebook, but you're going to go to our Facebook group and then you're going to go all over the place. And my job is to make sure you're more efficient with your time. So Slack has just been really good for that, for keeping it all in one place, off of Facebook, off of your device in the sense of messaging and email. So I have found it just be really valuable in that sense. And then to be able to set up like different groups and private groups and different channels, so that way people know. For accountability, go to the accountability thread, or for, expert training, go to the expert training thread. So for me, it was just a good way, easy way to organize all of the communications in one space.
With Slack, do you just start a Slack channel and then are you paying for your members to have premium access to it, or?
So we just use the free version. So everything we use is free. So there's no extra fee involved there. So we just use, I would say for 99.9% of the people, the free version is plenty. Obviously, if you want to build it more and more and you want to tie it into a bunch of things, maybe you do the paid and you want more search functionality. But so far, the free has been perfect.
Fantastic, man. Paul, I'm so glad that we're chatting, and I hope you don't mind me, I think this is fascinating about running a successful mastermind. One other thing that you do is that you limit them to 10 business owners. Is that like 10 business owners, like in a pod or in a group, or?
Yeah. Yep. So we do that just that way to ensure everyone gets a ton of value. And we also do hot seats. So every week, 3 people get their chance to be in the middle for 20, 25 minutes. So that way everyone gets their turn, every 3 or 4 weeks. So it's their turn to just come to the group with their problem. They need feedback. They're stuck. So it's kind of their turn in the middle. And I don't want that to be like, oh, you get it once every 2 months. I want it to be once every couple of weeks. So by the time you do it, then you go implement it in a week or 2, and then it's your turn to come back, so we can kind of keep pushing you to reach your full potential.
This is fantastic. All right. So you're a big systems guy, and where do, if you were to say, listen, if there were like 2 systems that you implemented over the next 6 months, if you just did this and this would completely change your life. Where do you find yourself dispensing that wisdom and having people go, oh my gosh, Paul, you've completely transformed my day-to-day life?
Yeah, that's a good question, Josh. So the first thing I would do is look at how you spend your time and help you create a systematic way to Schedule every hour when you're working on your business to make sure you're intentional with your time and you're getting the most out of it. So we all get 168 hours in the week, and how we spend those hours awake is what's going to determine our success. Unfortunately, the average American watches 35 hours of TV, and they're on social media for 20 to 25. And that's not during a pandemic. So depending on what's going on in the world, sometimes they're spending a lot more time in there. So really getting intentional with your time. A lot of people say, man, like, you're so crazy with your schedule, but what I find is boundaries create freedom. So like, my day is planned out. I get up at 4 a.m. and I'm done working at 3 o'clock every day. So we have a 4-year-old daughter. I want to spend all the afternoon with her. I want to do breakfast with her. So that's why I get up early, get some work done, get my morning routine done. And then usually it's her and I hanging out, or the three of us, my wife and her, hanging out. So really intentional with not only my work time, but family time and all that. So that'd be the number one thing. The second thing I would recommend everybody do is create a system around the customer experience that you provide. So looking for every single opportunity for you to surprise, delight, and stand out from the crowd with your customers. And it doesn't really cost you any money. It's just a matter of systematically doing this. Usually we only do this when we're busy, we're not busy, when we're slow, we're looking for more work. All of a sudden we randomly call our customers. But if you can continually do this, you won't have to spend much on marketing or advertising. Your customers will become your number one advocate. Unfortunately, what happens with most business owners is once their customer pays them for the first time, they're kind of like, all right, I got that one, on to the next one. No. And we're always chasing leads instead of keeping your current customers happier and happier and just like wowing the heck out of them. So, just a quick example on how do you do that. I mean, I have everything in a calendar of what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it. But to our clients, it seems totally sporadic and surprised. Like, oh my gosh, this person sent me something. Or, oh my gosh, this person called me, or whatever. So one of our clients in the mastermind, he just referred somebody. That person signed up. They just rebranded, did all this whole new rebranding. They're a marketing company, and they do a lot of video content. And basically, while we're recording this, it's amongst the coronavirus pandemic. So they really can't go do any work. So a lot of their clients are on hold. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a nice plaque made. They just rebranded and they can't really use their rebranding. So I'm getting a nice plaque made for their office with their new branding and all that. And just sending them, saying, hey man, you got this. Thanks so much for the referral. Doing something like that, maybe it cost me $100, but that $100 spent on a current client is way better than trying to go get using that $100 on more leads. So
no kidding.
Doing fun things like that. So that'd be the two things I recommend, like starting tomorrow, your customer experience journey, and really getting diligent with your time.
Well, Paul, we could be chatting again. Gosh, I could spend a lot of time talking with you about stuff. I'm so grateful that we were able to chat today. So what would be a great place? Make your podcast would be fantastic. Anything else that you'd recommend, say, if they want to dive into the world of Paul Maskill, where do they start?
Yeah, so I would definitely agree with that, Josh. Podcast would probably be the best place. Just search Business Owners Freedom Formula. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, that would be a great resource. We interview really smart people once a week, and then I do a solo show once a week as well. So I would definitely just go there. And then if you're on the web, you can just go to paulmaskill.com.
Fantastic. And that's Paul Maskill. Maskill is Maskill. Paul Maskill, thank you so much for joining us.
Josh, thank you so much for the opportunity.